Howdy y'all, it has been quite some time since we've taken a look at some camera gear in this channel, but today that's exactly what we're going to be doing, and this is going to be about this lens, which is the Fujifilm 27mm F2.8, and this lens, as you could hopefully see, is tiny, and that is a huge part of the reason, if not the only reason, why I picked this up. I was between this and the 18mm f2, but I ultimately went with this just because it's even smaller than that one, because this one doesn't even have an aperture ring. So it's nice to have an aperture ring on the bigger lenses, but I can totally understand why they wanted to remove that to have the smallest footprint possible, and I very much appreciate that, because with such a tiny lens, pretty much any body you put on it, especially these smaller bodies like the X200, the whole package feels so tiny. And this is even with an added grip that I have on this camera. I made a review and a video about this camera, so if you have any questions about that, feel free to leave a comment down below if you're interested. But even with this extra grip, everything just feels so compact. I feel like I can treat it more like a point and shoot than an interchangeable lens camera. And that goes for even when I put this onto my X-T4, which is my main photo taking camera. It makes everything feel so tiny. I feel like I can just take it everywhere. Because normally my main lens, which is the one I'm shooting with, is the 16-55 f2.8, and I love that lens, but that thing is big, it's bulky, it can be a bit intimidating for some people that might be a little camera shy, or if you want to take it places where you might not be allowed or might not normally be allowed to take bigger cameras. This, for example, I was able and felt comfortable taking it into a shop, which I'll show pictures of that here in a bit, and I didn't really feel awkward. I didn't feel like I was intruding, just because the footprint's so small and you get such good quality, because of course you're using that APS-C sensor. So the other big question, which I'm sure some people might have, is if this is good for video at all. And I use it quite a bit. I honestly really like it, because especially on this X-T200, the footprint is just so small. I can just put it on a monopod, put it in a small corner somewhere, and I have a B-roll machine, and I really like that. Even I use this for A-roll a lot still, even with my X-T4. Whoops. Lights got cut out. Anyway, I still use this combination a whole lot for video, but there's a big but there. I use manual focus, and I will show you a clip of the autofocus noise and you will understand why. So take a listen. This is the same exact distance from the camera, but this is a much tighter angle. The one I was using was set to 16. This is 27, so of course it's going to be a little bit more close up. But right now you're listening to me on my mic, which is right in front of my face, just off camera. And now I'm going to switch to the onboard camera mic so you can hear how bad this really is. So now I'm going to start moving around and just take a listen. And now we're going to switch back to my mic, and I'm still going to do those same movements so you can see if maybe it's viable to be using it with an off mic camera, or an off camera mic I should say. So moving around, I can definitely hear the noise, but I'm not sure if it's picking up on this mic. So if you're doing off camera audio, I said it right this time, you might still be able to use this, but realistically I just wouldn't really rely on autofocus with this lens. Although it keeps up with video, it's just super noisy. So if video is your primary concern, I wouldn't really consider it unless you're fine using it with manual focus, which is what I do pretty much all the time. Anyway, let's go ahead and switch back. One other thing that I would recommend, really for any lens, but especially for these lenses, the MSRP on these things is a bit high. It's a bit overinflated in my opinion. Fuji is set to release a Part 2 version of this, which I'm curious to see if they fix some of the issues, updated motors. I wonder if they're going to add an aperture ring. I like the low profile, but I feel like I've heard a lot of people complain about it not having one on this one, so I wouldn't be surprised if they add it. But the current MSRP of this thing is really overinflated. So do yourself a favor and just watch for these on sites like eBay or any sort of used camera equipment site. I usually pull the trigger on this and the 18. I was looking to try to get it somewhere around 200 bucks, and this one I got it just right around there. So comparing that to the MSRP, it's definitely worth just buying something used. Just save yourself a ton of money, unless of course for some reason you just don't like buying used gear, which I have a couple of people I know that are very adamant about not doing that for some reason. But for the majority of the sane people, I would say you're going to want to save a few $100 and buy this used. I still absolutely love this thing. I'm going to show you some photos that I took months ago, back when it was nice and warm, just because this camera is just so nice to just take out on a walk, take out when you're just traveling. I'm sure I'm definitely going to be taking this if I'm on my next trip, whenever that may be. I'm definitely going to be taking this with me everywhere. The main thing that I want to make note of is that all of those pictures were edited in some way. The main thing that props up in terms of issues is that you do get some chromatic aberration, but that's usually pretty easy to correct for. So not that big a deal in my opinion, easily solvable. Of course, this is still not going to ever be the most technically perfect lens, but still, for the form factor, I think it provides plenty of good uses. I love this for more environmental portraits, just because I do portraits quite a lot, and for some of the pictures that I showed you, that's more or less the sort of vibe that I like going for. And you can get some depth of field if you get up close to stuff, especially in that last photo of that giraffe little statue. You can really see that you can get some pretty usable depth of field. Of course, this is only around like a 40mm full frame equivalent, but still, this is very weirdly versatile. I wasn't sure how I was going to like the 27mm focal length, just because it seems like such a weird choice, but it's really grown on me. And honestly, I think this, especially with a cheaper camera like this X200, I think this is a much better package for somebody looking for a compact camera that they can take around versus something like the Fujifilm X100V, because I did own that for a few weeks last year, and although I really loved a lot of things about it, I just wanted to be able to change the focal length, because while 23mm was usable for a lot of stuff, it just didn't feel quite right for some stuff. So this is going to be a hell of a lot cheaper and more versatile, because you know, you can always take out the lens and put something else in when you are ready for change. So definitely recommend this if you can find these bodies. I know that they had discontinued them for some reason. I don't know why. This thing is so awesome. This has a better screen than my X-T4, and I honestly use this quite a lot, even though I still have that bigger and better camera. A bit of a tangent, I know. But if you have any questions about the camera, any questions about the lens, feel free to leave a comment down below, and I will do my best to respond. If any of this stuff was useful, definitely leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Other than that, y'all have a good day. See ya.